Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello?
Ever since you got injured, I feel like the emphasis on the hellos have just not been there.
I'm afraid, man. I'm afraid.
You need to get over your fear. If you can be bike riding, mountain biking out there in Half Moon Bay, you can go ahead and give it your all with the hello. Apologize for looking like a stupid frat boy today. I'm having a really bad hair day and didn't want to mess with it, so I threw on a stupid hat. So, cheers, everybody. It's Friday when we're recording this. It makes me want to say iconic. Damn, I shouldn't have said it.
You're your own worst enemy.
It is. So anyway, what we're going to talk about this week is, the '80s were known. It was kind of a decade known for movie sequels, right? They had a lot of great sequels. You think about the Rocky franchises, the Rocky franchise. See, I've already, the whiskey's already taken effect. Um, Lethal Weapon had some great sequels. We're going to talk about some of the ones that weren't so great. So the criteria for this, and from what I understand, my partner in crime has already gone rogue, and I might even have done it myself later on. We'll see. The original movie didn't have to come out in the '80s, but the sequel did. That was a criteria for it. Not everybody follows the rules. I wonder who. But we're going to give this a shot. So, Lou, why don't you get down with your badass rogue self and start us off?
All right, well, I'm gonna get the Rogue One out of the way. It was a movie that you and I went to go see at Tanforan in San Bruno. It was at the Discount Theater, and it was the follow-up to Highlander, which was released in 1986, and this was Highlander: The Quickening, released in 1991. Uh, Again, it is sort of falling outside of our criteria, but I had to get this one in because I remember, and I've never felt this way before any movie, leaving the theater really angry, just pissed off that this was the movie that they did to the follow-up, and I was so looking forward to it. And they actually might have ruined the first one for me as well. So I remember being really, really, really angry, and I've never felt that way before when leaving a theater. But so it was important for me to get this one in.
Well, I don't want to sound like a jealous girlfriend, but who did you go with? Because it wasn't me. I've never seen the movie.
I was pretty sure it was you, man.
Pretty much wasn't. I've never seen it. Because
Really? Well, then don't.
you told me how bad it was, and I purposely avoided it because you said don't ever see it. It's going to ruin the original for you. And I took it to heart, Lou. I said, if that's what Lou tells me to do, that's what I want to do. So who are you cheating on me with? Who'd you go to the discount movies with, Lou? Come on, tell me. Tell
I
me.
could have sworn it was you, man.
Wasn't me. I've never seen the movie, but
All right.
I'll let you go rogue. I'm actually gonna go a little bit rogue in a little bit, but my first one is not going rogue. Um, Saturday Night Fever was a huge hit, huge hit in the '70s. Big cultural impact. Soundtrack was amazing. Set all sorts of records. And then they decide, we need a sequel. They shouldn't have. And the thing is, if you go back and watch Saturday Night Fever, it's a really everyone thinks the disco dancing and the white seersucker suit, but it's a very very gritty movie. Go watch it again if you haven't seen it. It's a gritty movie, but this came out in 1983. It's directed by Sylvester Stallone, and his stamp is all over it because John Travolta put on like 20, 25 pounds of muscle to play a dancer. I didn't know dancers had to have those kinds of physiques. I thought it was kind of extreme, and the movie is really bad. I guess like a lot of the original cast were supposed to be in the movie, and they cut them all out. Like Donna Pescow, who was in the original movie, is shown or was supposed to be shown at in the theater watching his premiere. She's not in it. The Bee Gees were actually going to do the music for it again, had a conflict of interest with John Travolta and left the project. They discussed Hall and Oates, who decided not to do it, and Billy Joel, who wanted too much money. not enough money would have been good enough for this movie. So Frank Stallone, I wonder how he got that job, did most of the music. The plot, if you've never seen it, basically revolves around Tony Manero's character trying to break into Broadway as a dancer. And he is auditioning for this movie called Satan's Alley, which looks as bad as it sounds. Somehow the director sees him, goes, "That's what I want. I need that rawness, whatever." It is such a bad movie. He starts going for the female lead. Of course, that doesn't go over well. He has this beautiful girl played by Cynthia Rhodes who really likes him. He blows that off. And then if it wasn't bad enough, it had to have the worst ending. He does the show goes well and everything else. And Cynthia Rhodes' character is talking to him and she's like, "So what do you want to do now, Tony? What are you going to do?" And he looks at the camera and he goes, "Strut." And he opens the doors and he's walking out to this song, Staying Alive. And that's how the movie ends. I'm like, "You're going to strut?" It is so embarrassingly
Wow.
awful. Yeah. So I feel that yeah, I need a drink after that one. Ooh. Couple interesting points too. Couple cameos that if you watch it with a very close eye. Patrick Swayze is in the movie for like a second. So is Richie Sambora, Bon Jovi.
Huh. I didn't know that. I've never seen that movie.
Don't.
I don't think I'm going to.
No, unless you go see a Tan Fran with Highlander of the Quickening with somebody other than me. Yeah. So
I
cool.
think I struck a nerve.
Good. I'm really damaged.
Oh man. All right. No awkwardness there. Going on to the next one. So Airplane One was absolutely phenomenal, right? Just it was groundbreaking slapstick. I don't think that it something like that had happened before. They had to sort of coax the stars into doing that kind of slapstick comedy, which a lot of the stars weren't like into. Was amazing, right? Then Airplane Two came out. And it still had some pretty, heavy hitters, Lloyd Bridges and William Shatner, Robert Hayes, Peter Graves, but it just tanked. I remember watching it going, this is nowhere near the quality of the original one. And I don't know if it's because the original one was so groundbreaking and then the second follow-up, it just there's no way it could have met the the quality of the first one. So, but who knows? All I know is that it's just not as good as the first one at all.
Do you remember what year that came out?
Um, it came out 1982. The sequel came out in 1982, the original 1980.
The only thing I remember from that one is, and I want to say it was William Shatner's line that always cracked me up, is he said, "Irony can be pretty ironic." And I that always cracked me up, but I don't remember anything else from that movie.
I remember the end where he's sitting there directing this, space shuttle looking thing to land. It's all like, go to the left, go to the right, or you're almost there. And it's like crashing in through the terminal and stuff. And he's still giving him directions. And it was kooky and it had some moments, but nowhere near the quality of the original.
Good call. I remember seeing it, but like I said, the one thing I remember is that one line, "Irony can be pretty ironic," where I didn't quote the whole first movie. I went rogue too, so I'm gonna confess my sins. But listen, hear me out. At least it came out in the '80s. This is called The Executioner Part Two. Sounds like a sequel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Came out in 1984. There was no Executioner Part One. Eh? So I believe they falsified it to make you think, wow, it was so good that we're going to put a sequel out to this. Lou, you've got to watch this with me. We got to sit there, we got to drink, and we are going to laugh our asses off because this movie is so awful. This is one of those movies I think you and I could go out and do a much better job. It's basically, and we'll talk about this one later, but it's kind of a ripoff of The Exterminator. In that it's this Vietnam vet comes back, appears to have PTSD. It's just so bizarre and so poorly done and so low budget. Like he's wearing this mask, and he continually puts in a hand grenade into the pants of the person that he's going to destroy. Like, okay, you're not going to get away from that quick enough. And they show the explosion from from far back, a stock explosion. It looks like an atom bomb goes off as opposed to a simple little hand grenade. It's like, okay, that's really weird. They use like one sound effect for everything. Like all the punches. Oh, it's so awful. At one point, this guy gets a what appears to be like a brick thrown at his back. There's no sound effects. Nothing. The lead character is doing this grunting all the time, which I don't understand what the hell that's about. They have one part where the guy's supposed to get hit by the car and he's going ow before the car even comes near him. The car doesn't even come close to hitting him, but he jumps. I'm sure it was like really low budget. And he cuts this guy's throat, and they cut away from it. And then you see the blood like trickling down, but like nothing where there would be a slice, with the knife against the throat. Oh, it's so bad. It is so bad. Somebody, why I will never know, put this out on Blu-ray. Um,
Oh, that's
but just the
hilarious.
fact that they put it as part two, I'm gonna go with it, thinking it was a sequel. And this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It's one of those ones that's so bad it's good. This should be playing at midnight everywhere. It looks like the budget, and then like the bad guy, he's like this weird pimp, and every time he meets this girl, he rips her clothes off. Like I get it once, but like every time, it's like that probably was the whole budget was for the clothes. And there was a scene where the girl's walking and they shoot to her shoes. I don't know why. I hadn't thought of this in years. She's wearing those white moccasins with the beads on them. Oh my god, that was so 80s. So 80s. So yeah,
Oh my
that's my
gosh.
call.
So let me ask you, Joan, what did you like rent this? And if you did, what caused you to go, hey, this looks like a good movie. Let me check it out.
You know, when you're retired, you have some time on your hands. And I went down the black hole of Tubi, and I'm going to talk about what I was watching. After I was watching it, this came up as like it leads into the next movie that's kind of similar. And this is what it led into. I'm like, I've never even heard of part one. This is interesting. And I'm watching it, and then I'm like transfixed. It's like it can't be that bad. It can't be. And yes, it continues to be that bad. And oh my god, the camera work. I mean, it's like they gave it to somebody that's like finished a 3-day bender. Like the camera works like this. Like the dude have a bobblehead? What happened here? Oh, it's so awful. But it was one of those movies like it's so bad I'm transfixed. I can't turn this off. I can't look away. How does this end? I've got to know. It's awesome.
We definitely have to watch this. This sounds pretty priceless. It sounds like it's gonna be a good time.
It's like what was the one you were telling where the Satan's or vampire one where the girl walks into the camera?
Oh, Erotic Kill.
Erotic Kill. It's
Yeah.
it's that level of awesomeness. But it continues, and I still want to know why the guy's grunting. But again, you put in a hand grenade, and then it's like the nuclear explosion. It was weird.
Maybe the guy ate beans. Who knows? I don't know. That's really funny though, and it's really cool that it's like a new find for you, right? It's just something you recently stumbled on.
And it's
Uh,
awesome.
it sounds like it. The next one I'm gonna go with is Poltergeist. So Poltergeist 2 came out in 1982, which I thought was great. Reading reviews and stuff as I was doing research, uh, people I guess didn't like it as much as the first one. But I actually liked it more. But again, they sort of wanted to continue riding that wave, and they came out with the Poltergeist 3, which was in 1988. And I don't think I've ever been able to watch it all the way through. They didn't have like the same parents at all. The Joe Beth Williams and Craig Nelson, they were no longer part of it. They still had Carol Ann, and I can't remember the name of the psychic. So they still had some of the characters there, but it was just way different, and
She
it just
wasn't dead
sucked.
by then?
No, no, she had already put on a little bit of weight. I mean, you could see that she was dealing with something, right? But no, that was like I think her last movie.
Wow. And there's a lot of talk about where the original Poltergeist was, something was up with that. Because Dominique Dunn, the oldest daughter in the first one, got killed by her boyfriend
I
shortly
remember
after.
you telling me that.
Hey, I
Yeah.
remember the second one. I remember the old guy being creepy as hell. Um, but I don't even remember there was a third one that came out.
Yeah, yeah, it was again not anything worth really watching. I hate it when they do that where they take some of the main characters and they have to replace them with other actors. And I get it, right? So the other actors just don't want to do it and they want to continue sort of doing the cash grab. But yeah, it just didn't work for me.
So did they have people portraying the parents and like
I think they were like an aunt and uncle at this
okay.
point. So yeah, it wasn't really portraying the parents. I don't remember what they said actually happened to the parents. But again, I wasn't able to sit through the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, the reason I went through this, like I said, this black hole. So I was doing research for this. The first Exterminator, and I've talked about before. I love the Exterminator. It's very gritty, very Death Wish. I love those kinds of movies because they get you to hate the villains so much that when they finally get their comeuppance, you can't wait for it, right? Like there's a payoff to seeing that. And yes, it's fantasy, but it's something that I've always enjoyed watching those kinds of movies. And The Exterminator was great, very
Hmm.
low budget, but awesome movie. Well, they came out with The Exterminator 2, and I hadn't seen it in years. I don't remember being that impressed with it, but I found it on Tubi. This is why how I ended up with the Executioner, because it came on right after this. The Exterminator 2 sucks. It took all the grit of the first one and just kind of made it weird. Like Mario Van Peebles is in it. He plays the villain. His name is X, right? And it's one of those movies where he's doing all this talking to like his disciples, whatever, his henchmen, whatever you want to call them. And it's these long, elaborate speeches for basically these are thugs, right? Like I'm sure they weren't looking for inspirational speeches from their leader. He's dressed like he should be in the movie The Road Warrior, so it doesn't fit. Um, it's really, really bad. You'll like this. Don't give me a bad time. One of the main villains is on roller skates for his entirety. Shut up, Lewis. It's not cool. It's not cool roller skating like you saw in the movie The Warriors. This is really just come on. So it's like, what were you trying to do? And the lead actor Robert Ginty, who played the Exterminator, from what I've read, didn't even like this movie. So there's a ton of scenes where he's there. The Exterminator wore like a welder's mask and a oversized army jacket. You, you probably not even him in most of these scenes because he never lifts it up to talk or whatever. And they said the very ending where he finally does lift it up was an outtake from something else. So he didn't even film a lot of these scenes. And then there's one scene where he's on the second floor. These guys have got to be 60 feet away. And for whatever reason, now he's using a different flamethrower than what he's been using in all the movies. This one's like very tiny. And somehow, I don't know the span of a flamethrower. This thing goes like 100 yards to get these guys. And I'm like, okay. And it was the smaller one. Yeah, it's bad. It sucks. And made me kind of wish I had never seen it, but still, The Exterminator is great. Just don't see The Exterminator 2.
Yeah, bummer, man. Yeah, I hate it when you've got this second sequel. well, a second. Well, I guess it could be a second sequel that you're looking forward to, right? And it's like, oh, right on. They come out with the second one, and it doesn't meet expectations. It just goes south, and that's just deflating.
Yeah, I mean, the likelihood is it's not going to live up to it, but at least try. This one didn't even seem like it was trying. Mario Van Peebles seems like he's in the wrong movie. It just seemed like completely different feel than the original one. And they're riding around too half the time in this garbage truck. His buddy's a garbage collector, but he seems like he's an independent garbage collector because he's offering him a job. And I'm like, where do you get an independent garbage collector gig in New York City? I didn't know that existed, but anyway, I digress.
So I'm gonna go with another one that was a complete flop in my eyes again because they didn't have like the main actors in it. Um, the original was released in 1978, and it was called Grease, and the second one was called Grease 2, which was released in 1982. Didn't have Travolta, didn't have Olivia Newton-John. Again, very obvious that it was a cash grab, trying to sort of ride on the hype of the first one. It sucked. Just not into it at all.
You know who the lead actress was, right?
I don't remember.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Funny, I haven't seen it in years, but I actually remember seeing it and thinking it wasn't that bad.
I didn't care for it, man. And I guess I couldn't get past not having the main characters there. It just felt like there was something missing the whole thing. So I couldn't get past that.
Wasn't I think Didi Khan or whatever, was she in it in the
I think
first
she
one?
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think she was in both of
I
them.
thought it was interesting too how they turned it around. This time the male lead was Australian as opposed to in the original where the female lead was Australian. So
Right.
Maxwell Caulfield, I think his name was.
Damn, look at you.
Good looking guy too. I'm not gonna lie. If I went that way, Maxwell, you'd get my vote. Um, this one, this one sucked. This came out in 1983. I saw it in the theaters, and one of the big reasons I saw it in the theaters was it was 3D. It's a sequel, second sequel, one of the greatest movies of all time, and it sucks. Jaws 3D. I hated this movie. Dennis Quaid's in it. I guess Dennis Quaid had a huge cocaine problem during filming. He's high. He said he's high in every scene. I wish I was high in every scene watching it. Oh God, did this movie suck? So basically, and it's strange too, right? Because the Brody kids are now adults. They're played by different people in every Jaws movie. It's like the National Lampoon's Vacation. We different kids every time. They're in a water theme park similar to SeaWorld or in our day Marine World Africa USA. Somehow a shark gets in there and terrorizes it. And I just remember sitting there and the 3D effects were so awful. Um,
Oh,
I guess it was supposed to be subtle, like it was supposed to provide depth and background. But of course, because it was the 80s and 3D movies were just starting to come back with Friday the 13th 3D and there's some other 3D movies. It just, they put in all those things that just flew at the screen. And I remember at the very end when the shark gets it, gets his demise, the jaws of the shark go flying at the screen and it looks so incredibly stupid. I was just like, really? Like I like Jaws 2. I really did like Jaws 2. I thought Jaws 2 was fun. It's no Jaws, but I mean, at least Jaws 2 wasn't a letdown. This thing sucked. But yeah, little trivia fact: Leah Thompson's first film role was in Jaws 3D.
huh.
Boom, mic drop.
I I've seen obviously Jaws. I don't think that I've seen any of the other ones. Definitely not the 3D one. I remember when that was out in the theaters, and it looked intriguing because of the 3D stuff. But it sounds like maybe it was a little underwhelming.
It was a lot underwhelming. And I don't know why I had this thing about 3D movies back then, like because we hadn't seen 3D movies. And so I
Right.
went and saw a lot of them. I remember seeing the Amityville 3D.
Oh
I
yeah.
forgot the name of this movie. But I think it was like one of the first ones that came out, and it was like an Indiana Jones ripoff. And there was a totem pole, and something flew out from the totem pole. And I remember being in the theater, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I twisted my head, and I threw my glasses, and they went to the seat behind me, and I'm in the middle, so I had to walk. It was at the Hillsdale Cinema. I remember that. And I had to walk all the way up and all the way around and collect my glasses and walk all the way back to my seat, put them back on, and continue the movie. Luckily, it wasn't crowded. That would have at least, well, if it had been crowded, maybe someone could have just handed them to me instead of me having to walk. But I think that was also the time I went to the movies with my sister. And remember how back then the seats really sucked. So, well, somebody had put their soda. You remember how if you pushed your seat back, the seat would fold up?
Right.
They put their soda on top of it. My sister, of course, has to sit in the seat and thunk, throw her feet right out. And you hear the Coke drop.
Oh no.
We're like, oh God, we don't have the money to pay for this. So then we ran to the middle of this theater, or halfway through the movie, seeing the Coke like come through like this river, and I'm like, oh great. But way to go, Leanne. Anyway, Jaws 3D sucked. It's not any better if you see it naturally either. It still sucks. And Dennis Quaid was high throughout it on cocaine.
I think I'd want to see it just for that, just knowing.
Yeah, I just found that out too. So
That's
it'll give me
hilarious,
a
man.
different perspective. But yeah, he was high as a kite. I wish I had
I like
been.
Dennis Quaid actually. That's pretty funny.
I do too. Leah Thompson and oh God, who was no, not Beverly Bridget, no. Beverly Armstrong? I don't know. Anyway, there was another gal in it, but I don't think she was high as a kite, so I don't want to insinuate that. It could be if you watch it. Anyway.
So I believe this is my last one. It's a movie that I remember seeing and enjoying. I mean, I don't have like fond memories of it, but I remember seeing it thinking, this is a good movie. And I remember seeing the beginning of the next one. And again, it's where they took the main actor, the main role, and switched the actors. And for whatever reason, man, I just have a hard time getting past that one. So Michael J. Fox was in the original one, Teen Wolf, and Justin Bateman did the second one. First one was 1985, second one came out in 1987. And again, I just couldn't get past the fact that Michael J. Fox wasn't in it. It's just like, no, this is not Teen Wolf, man. This is a cheap imitation of Teen Wolf. Even though I like Justin Bateman, but yeah, just didn't do it for me.
I don't think I ever saw that one either. I think I was like you, where I'm just like, I can't do it. Michael J. Fox is Teen Wolf, and I'm not gonna go. Even though Justin Bateman, like you said, love the guy. I think he's a great actor. I enjoy him in pretty much anything. I couldn't do it. So, um, I'm gonna go with this. My last one came out in 1989. The original is one of those absolute classics, and this is kind of the same, right? I rewatched it, and I thought maybe maybe a different perspective. No, it still sucks. Fletch Lives.
Hmm.
I love the original Fletch. I think Chevy Chase is so great in that, and in my opinion, that's his best movie ever. Um, I couldn't get into this. I watched it, and the love interest is Julianne Phillips, who was not an actress. At the time she was Mrs. Bruce Springsteen, maybe. But yeah, not a good actress. The jokes, just everything fell flat. Um, they had that whole thing with Bible Land, which I just was like, okay, this is really kind of dumb. And his jokes, I don't know, just everything he did in it kind of fell flat for me. I just didn't have the enjoyment of the original. And the only thing I thought was kind of cool about the research is I found out that the area where they're kind of doing the televangelist was taking place, where they filmed it, was actually at the Universal Amphitheater,
Oh,
which
neat.
I got to enjoy a few times going there, before they ultimately tore it down out at Universal Studios. They used to show concerts there, which was a lot of fun. I saw Iron Maiden there, and with Rob Halford and Queensryche, and I saw, Poison, Cinderella, Dokken there. I think who else I saw, but I saw some good shows there. Great place. It was kind of nice to see that, what it used to look like. But other than that, just didn't do it for me. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not a huge Chevy Chase fan. I've heard several people say that Fletch is a really good movie, and I remember starting to watch it on TV, and I couldn't get into it. I know I've never seen the second one, so if I didn't think that the first one was amazing, then I'm probably gonna really think the second one was a dud.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad too. You read the stories about him, and he's like one of those universally hated people, which is really sad. But he was also in. I couldn't find it to see it. I don't think I ever saw it, so I didn't want to talk about it. But there was a. Did you know there was a sequel to Caddyshack?
I think I stumbled upon that. I don't think I ever saw it, but I think I was doing research and I saw that there was a sequel to it. Yes.
Yeah, it didn't have Rodney, it didn't have it didn't have Bill Murray. Chevy Chase was in it, but from what I've read, it's pretty awful, and I don't remember ever seeing it. So probably a good thing. I really enjoyed the first Caddyshack. I don't love it like a lot of people really love it, but I definitely enjoyed it. But I definitely don't have any desire to see Caddyshack 2 based upon what I've read.
Very good.
So basically, as time is running out on this, I think what we've got from this is you have to go see the Executioner Part Two.
Yes. Well, it sounds like with alcohol in hand.
Oh yeah, or any other substance you might choose. Hopefully something legal. But yeah, it don't if you want some of those so bad they're good movies. This was definitely something you'd want to watch with a group and laugh your ass off at how awful it is. So I'd recommend it. Just
Awesome.
don't buy the Blu-ray. It's yeah. I you guys see some of the actors in it too. You're just like, holy shit. Like, obviously no one went on to have a big career, and it's not surprising. Not surprising at all.
It sounds like it could be very entertaining again, as long as we go into it going, yeah, this is going to be a shitty movie, and that's what we're gonna, watch and enjoy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You watch it with that mindset, you'll have a blast. So,
Awesome.
anything you want to say before we boogie out of here?
No, man, I think that we covered some ground.
We did cover some ground. Thanks for going rogue as usual with the. Not only did you go with something that came out in 1991, but it's also with this big setup that you and I saw it together, and we didn't see it together. Yeah,
I could have sworn it was you, man. I
I
could
I,
have
will-
sworn
I
it
will
was
I will
you.
drink my pain away. It's okay. Tears on the pillow tonight, baby.
You were there with me in spirit, John.
No, I wasn't. I definitely wasn't. But that's okay. All right, broski. Well, as usual, we appreciate you guys for watching this. I don't know why anyone would, but thank you if you did. If you saw all the way to the end. So again, I apologize for the hat. Hopefully, I get a haircut by the time we do this next episode. Ooh, today was bad, dude. I have to tell you, when you are retired, that shower thing. Yeah, it's like, I'm walking my dog. She doesn't care. She loves me regardless. I'll skip the shower today.
That's all right, man. It's your party.
I'll cry if I want. Well, I'm gonna cry later, but that's okay. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And Lewis, as always, lead us out, brother.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.